UK. First Report Political Show. Your number one political program or show in the UK. Today, we're going to talk about some interesting topic. Who is to blame for our economic difficulties? Who is responsible for Ghana's debt crisis? This has been a big question for us. What are our leaders doing to help us with our crisis, this debt crisis? What are our leaders doing? Today, I have with me on my right here, Mr. Kate Yosin, who is chairman for Progressive People Party in the UK. Mr. Yosin, welcome.
Thank you.
How was your trip?
It was fine. It was nice summer day. It was brilliant.
The weather is good as well.
The weather is good, yes. Very cool, air-conditioned trains.
When is our boss coming, Pakwasi Indu, coming to the UK?
Well,
Ghanaians want to see him.
he left here a few days ago, but he's going to come back.
Oh, he left here?
Yeah, he left London a few days ago. I mean, less than a week, actually.
Okay. Okay,
But
that's
he'll be
good.
back soon. Right now, he's in Chicago. So.
Oh, okay, that's good. And we also have Mr. Fifi Asante Impare. Mr. Fifi Asante Impare is the NDC UK and Ireland chapter communication team member.
That's correct.
Yeah. How are you and how was your trip?
I'm very well, thank you, Kola. Yeah, genuine down is okay. It's been okay, yeah.
The weather is good.
Fabulous weather. We can't
don't
complain.
We don't normally get it like this.
No, so we have to enjoy it whilst it lasts.
Yeah, I think we will start with you, but before then, I just want our viewers to know that Mr. Daniel Boateng, who is part of MPP North London Branch Communication Team member, sent information to say that he won't be able to make it because of some family things that has taken place that he have to deal with. So we will miss him, and we hope that we see him in the future, maybe next week or next 2 weeks, whichever, it depends on his availability.
It's unfortunate. He should have been here to defend the MPP's corner.
Yes. I mean, saying that, then we will start with you, and then we come to Mr. because it's on your side now. Elections 2024. Now, looking at the MPP presidential aspirants, who do you think is a threat to NDC? I did ask this question before to Sebefia and also Honorable Akwesi Opon Fosu.
Oh, have you?
Yes, but I just wanted from you as well to say.
From my perspective.
Yes.
Okay.
Who do you think? Do you want the 10 aspirants? You know them any?
I do.
Yes.
I do know them. The top three. I won't go through all the 10 anyway. But the top three to me, or the top four. First of all, let me say thank you for the invite, and also massive thank you to all our viewers across the world. And the top three, which has been, they've mentioned Baumia's name, Alan Kwajo Martin, and Kennedy Ejapon. And the word you use there is a threat, whether any of these are a threat to the NDC.
Yes.
I don't think none of them are a threat to the NDC. I don't think so. And the reason I don't see them as a threat, or I won't even use the word a threat, is every single one of them have contributed to where we are today. The economic woes that we are about to discuss. They have plunged Ghana into the crisis that we are experiencing today. So how did they become a threat again? With an abysmal performance. Alan Martin was a trade minister. Commander factory was built. He was asked to just take in charge of sugarcane plantation, and for that transportation of it to go into Commander factory, for them to get the juice out of it, just to get sugar out of Commander factory. He wasn't able to do that. He kept promised Ghanaians, so it will be done. He gave several days. It never manifested. Look at Baumia, the abysmal performance of the economic management team. I remember the president on his podium talking about or mentioning names. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, Alan Kwejo Chirematin, Mr. Balfour Ewa, what a solid team. What happened to the solid team? They've been totally dismantled. You can't even find Baumia to answer questions, common questions with regards to economy. Does Baumia pose a threat to the NDC? Not at all. Because we have him where he belongs. And when that time comes, we will be able to pronounce. Kennedy Japan, this is a man who actually, well, Kennedy is, I'm even surprised that people are singing praises that Kennedy can be a president of Ghana. This is a man who declared war in Ghana. He asked Ashantis that when they see Ewes, guns, they should lynch them. A journalist asked him, are you declaring war in Ghana? He said, yes, it's a war. And you want Kennedy to be a leader, a president of Ghana? It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. This is a man who sat on his Net2 TV and called out a journalist that he should be beaten. Hold and behold. Few weeks later, that journalist was killed. This is a man who has admitted that members of his family have dealt with drugs in large scale. Kennedy, as I said, I'm even shocked when I hear people singing praises.
About that. So therefore, he didn't look after his children well? Is that what you're saying?
I personally, I'm not going to talk about Kennedy's children and what have you. The reason is totally different from when you have family issues. It's different from political issues. But I'm talking about looking into his political record. Kennedy, Japan has been in parliament for how many years? 30 odd something years.
Yes.
What has he done to ascend? Is it Ascend Central?
Central, yeah.
What has he done there? The people of Ascend will vouch. This is a man who has been in parliament for 30 something years. The number of ex gracias that he's collected at the term of every 4 years, he has nothing to his name in Ascend Central. He hasn't been able to build anything. Suddenly Kennedy say, I can provide jobs. But Kennedy has been part of this NPP party from day one. Didn't he have those ideas to sell to his party for the party to perform?
I think he is saying that you have to go more to Baumia and Alan than himself.
Sorry, say that again. He has to.
To Kennedy,
Yes.
Alan holds more, Dr. Baumia holds more responsibility when it comes to decision making than himself. Because he was not in that ministerial position to be able to have much.
I personally disagree. You don't have to be in ministerial position to sell an idea across. You have to be a party member, and we all know Kennedy, such an advocate person, flamboyant. The way he goes about, he had relationship, or he still has relationship with the president and the people in charge. You can sell your ideas. He sat around the table where decisions are being made. He sits in parliament. So he can sell his ideas on. It's one thing to say, I gave them the idea and they never acted on it. And it's another thing to say that, look, nothing. How many years have we even seen Kennedy on the floor of parliament arguing his case? And arguing the case of his constituents, which is Ascend Central. Have we? No. No. So none of these three pose a danger to the NDC. Yes, one of them have to be selected to be a leader of the NPP. They can lead the NPP, but none of them can lead Ghana, in my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Yosin. You heard everything.
Yes, I did.
Yes. And who is a threat? I mean, Pakosidim, the feature of your PPP as well within all this, who is a threat to one, to the NDC, and two, to your party as well, Progressive People Party?
What do you mean a threat to?
More likely that they,
Mhm.
for example, which one of them could become the president of Ghana?
Well, we are not seriously interested about who will be a presidential material for new patriotic party. You know, all that we need to see is on the day of the elections, A or B, Mr. A or B or C, representing his party, wants to be the president. That's the level we want to play. So no one is seen as a threat at all. There couldn't be a threat. This is not a war. You know, we are talking serious business with serious people. No one's a threat to each other. Not at all. All we need is a good leader, a leader who can serve the nation. That's very important. Otherwise, a treacherous person, we wouldn't, Ghana even doesn't need people who are treacherous anyway. We want serious people rather than treacherous people. So I wouldn't go for a person who is very treacherous, because we can face everybody. You know, we can face everybody, challenge everybody. But the issues at stake is more important. That's threatening Ghana. Ghana's problem is how far we have gone backwards. We really want to go forward. That's the threat we have as Ghanaians for a long time, more than 50, God knows, 57 years since the system changed from CPP to NDC and NPP. I should say that.
Okay, thank you. I mean, now looking, I'm going to ask you this question, and this question, if Boatin was here, was part of it as well, but he's not here today, but we will still talk about it.
Yeah.
Baumia, a recent promise to delegates. Baumia made a recent promise to delegates. It goes to you, Mr. Ketiosin, before we go there. He said a few days ago that he is the best person to lead the MPP to break the that 8-year cycle rule, and appeal to delegates across the country to give him the nod. And if he's get the nod, he said there should be no room for character assassination and calls for clean campaign. What does he mean by clean campaign? We'll go take it one by one. He's talking about clean campaign to the other aspirants. He wants them to be in a clean campaign. However, the same vice president has promised to appoint. The same vice president has promised to appoint delegates from each constituency into government position if elected as president. So he's saying, one, character is very important in terms of the other aspirants.
Yeah.
Discipline is important, but then he's also talking about giving them jobs. Is this what is your understanding of this?
Well, it's all matter. One is talking about clean campaign.
Yes.
That means the NPP that is in power now going to 8 years, they are used to dirty campaign in the past. That is what it means. Clean
Yes.
campaign. That's what it means. He shouldn't even bother talking about clean or dirty campaign. You're going for campaign. That's what is important.
Are the other aspirants playing and maybe saying things against each other, maybe not in a positive way, that is making him say that?
It looks as if what you're saying, what I was thinking is right. But then, I mean, who cares? Ghanaians don't care. We are not interested about who is doing a bad or good campaign. You say you want to be a leader and there are primaries and all that. You want to come on top of it. That's why you got to focus on if you really want to serve Ghana. But how to win, to be a representative of the party, it's up to you and your effort and the way you relate to your own political party. In fact, it has nothing to do with people in different political parties or even Ghanaians in general. All what we need is people who are standing to be presidents, and then we talk about them. So it's wasting words. Clean campaign and dirty campaign and a character assassination are childish. Any children will talk like that. I mean, serious business. He has been economic top guru and all that. They praise him so much, even before he came to be vice president. I don't think we have seen anything very good from him at that level. That's why probably he's not sure. Some people are going to play dirty games and all that. We don't understand. He better come out clear. What we need is somebody who is serious and say, look, I want to lead Ghana, and tell us why you want to lead Ghana, rather than those who are not going to be honest or do clean campaigns and all that. That tends to confuse everybody.
Then he has also promised
yes.
to appoint delegates from each constituency into government positions if elected as president. Is this, I mean, we talk about giving donations to voters.
Yes.
And here we have our vice president.
Donations actually is bribe, not donations.
Yes, that's it. Giving donation, I mean, I'm coming there.
Okay,
Giving donations to voters is against the law under the 1992 constitution, but it's happening in Ghana. It seems like the police are really struggling with the West and the intelligence around people or other aspirants doing that.
Yeah.
Now, if you say you give appointment to anyone, if they elect you, and they are the ones voting, is this a form of bribery? Does it come the same under the 1992 constitution?
Not even that. I mean, it's clearly you are inducing people to vote for you and all that. It's bribery. Recently, there was a by-election, and money was changing hands. They were sharing monies to people, and people came out straight on the television to confess or even confirm that they received money. They were given money by the delegates or the contestants and all that. And it was something that you didn't even want to see. But it was clear in Ghana. It has become part of our DNA that you've got to bribe even before people cast their ballots in there. This is very dangerous. You don't need to go through that. Ghana has been there for a long time.
You hear about this thing years ago. I say, for October Golf, I mean, things like this. It's very serious here.
Yes.
So what you are saying is that it's a form of bribery?
It is bribery, not a form. It's absolutely bribery. I wish I didn't really hear that.
Are police going to get involved in this?
The police?
I mean, we are in the UK here, and
Yes.
we're doing this program to educate first Ghanaian community in the UK, Ghanaians in Ghana, that it helps us to our understanding. And we want our viewers also to call in at some point to be able to talk about these things, that what our vice president is saying, and if it comes from another person, will it be the same level?
Okay, let's get one point. Bawumia has been in the UK, has been in London for a long time.
Yeah.
These things don't happen here. Nane Akufo-Addo has been in the UK, has been a local UK boy, maybe just like myself or my brother and all that. I mean, these things don't happen here in the United Kingdom. In Ghana, anything can happen in Ghana, and nobody cares about it. Do you understand? Our constitution or no constitution, rules or no rules, there are extinct rules that we have. We do not play according to the provisions of the constitution in Ghana. Because when there is election here, we are casting our votes, it's all quiet in the polling station. You go cast your vote and go. Don't stay around. Don't give money to anybody. It never happens in the United Kingdom. I don't want to use the word civilized society. You know what I mean?
That's where it's going.
You see what I mean? We've got a civilized society here. When we are voting quietly, you go and vote and go. But in Ghana, it's a place where people got to be shouting around there on bicycles, or almost naked on the bicycles, paint yourself in colors. You don't see these things here, So anything in Ghana, anything can happen, and people can get away with it. If you attempt to bend the rules to correct one or two people, they will say, listen, you are not a local guy, you are not here.
Okay.
So don't say what you're saying. But if you're trying to put them correctly, they don't want to know.
Okay.
So I'm not surprised at all, that these things happen. The recent by-elections, money changed hands. Some people came out to say we took money, but we voted against them. That's the last one which MPP lost. They lost by Mr. Chikwesin.
Yes.
Yeah, there's an NDC guy who won the election. But people came out to say the MPP guys give us money, but we didn't vote for them. But it's sad
The
even to
voters
hear
are
that.
becoming clever.
No, they are becoming wiser.
Wiser.
Yeah,
Okay.
becoming
Thank
wiser.
you. Yes. Wait, you heard everything, Fifi.
I did. Thank you. I think I will start from Dr. Baumia commenting about clean campaign, which my brother from PPP touched on a bit. Baumia has never done a clean campaign. He's never done a clean campaign in his life. And you can go back into all the videos. Baumia is a northerner. Baumia was used by the NPP to destroy his own brother, another northerner, which was John Mahama, back in election 2016 and then 2020. He mounted podium. He spoke lies about the NDC and Mahama. He spoke about this, I confirm, etu. Even in recent Kumewu by-election, when Baumia was given the platform to project what the MPP has done for Kumewu people to vote for them, he had another dig at John Mahama with regards to the same lies. So he's never done a clean campaign. So I'm surprised that somebody who has never done a clean campaign suddenly knows the importance of clean campaigns. Why? Because he knows when you do clean campaigns, right people wins. That is why he doesn't do clean campaign. So I'm surprised that today he's calling for clean campaign. That is one. Two, now let's move to the other aspect of the things that you were saying about him promising 20 delegates.
Yes.
To be, is it 20 to be in his government, he said.
He said 10. He will
10.
give 10, yeah.
Each
Yes, he will give them 10 in each
constituency.
10 in each.
No, 10 altogether 10.
10
But therefore one
constituencies,
from each constituency.
constituency.
But
Debate.
what he said is that
Yeah.
the one that he would appoint, they will work through to the others. So therefore, it's a very complex situation. The police need to analyze that.
Okay. We all know this is bribery. Kola, if you could remember over here in United Kingdom, you remember the cash for peerages,
Yes.
which happened at Westminster, and then it got investigated.
Yes.
Some people were found foul to the law, right? It's the same thing. What the Constitution does not condone bribery, inducing people for them to vote for you.
Yeah.
So this is a bribery. But why am I not surprised? I'm not surprised because the NPP has always done this. Do you remember recently when they went for Ashanti region, when they were doing their primaries, the chairmanship in Ashanti region was between Chairman Wuntumi, which is the current chairman, and one of the NPP guys who emerged from America. He emerged from USA and he came down. He was very close to the Clinton campaign back then. So he's got pictures with Bill Clinton and what have you. This gentleman was doing a very westernized campaign, spoke well in all radio stations and television interviews and what have you. Later on, when he realized that Wuntumi was dishing out and doubling up money to delegates, he ended up overnight, the person who was asking for clean campaign and the Western campaign in the same MPP said, one delegate, one scholarship to the United States. The man was, within few months, conformed to be part of what is being happening back home. This is not something that we are looking for. Look, we want our candidates to be elected. we want to elect the best. At the same time, we want to educate the public. We want to educate the electors. And it starts from the delegates, because if the delegates do what is right, then the other citizens will also follow up. And we are telling them, paying people to vote for you is not the right thing. Let people understand the importance of their votes. Why we vote. We need to select the best. It's not because the best come from our constituency or we are familiar with that person, but it's the performance of the person. How good that person is. How articulate that person is. How intelligent is that person can go and negotiate better things for us and better things for Ghana. This is what we're talking about. We are not talking about individuals who will come and spray money to you. They are given the mandate. I don't like saying given the power. They are given the mandate. They go, you don't see them again. And that is exactly what this Bawumia campaign team or Bawumia himself wants to do. The truth of the matter is, Scholar, it doesn't send a good message about the MPP to Ghanaians. But let me say one thing. Whether it's Alan Martin, whether it's Kennedy Japan, whether it's Bawumia, with the NDC, we have the visionary leader, John Dramani Mahama, waiting in the corner and waiting for whoever comes. And all the NDC communicators, we are ready and willing to face all of them. Look, among them, I think Alan Martin is the one who has a very good track record. A very good track record. So it's up to the NPP delegates to decide who they elect. We are just waiting. And when that time comes, we will do justice to that candidate.
So this is what Bawumia said, that he promised that 10 government positions will be allocated to members of the party coming from each constituency.
Yeah, that is where we are today.
That appointees will then take care of each member of the delegates in each constituency.
In other words, it's going to be job for the boys. In this country, we call it job for the boys, because you have you know your local guys and then or your friends, and then you give them jobs. And that is exactly what this NPP administration, which has brought Ghana into its knees, have done. It's nepotism. And it's exactly the same thing, Bawumia. This is why we've said to Ghanaians, Bawumia, Alan Martin, Kennedy Japan, the whole MPP, friends and collecting, is none of these people are qualified to be a leader or a president of Ghana.
I want to ask a question here. I mean, we are a country that want the best investors to come to our country. And we are also a country that are in need of people with skills. Do you think that if these people are reading in terms of our media circle, newspapers, radios and things like that, if people are seeing things like this and hearing things like this, where do they go from here? Because this message is not about looking for the best skills, the best person for the job, the best skills. When jobs are there, you give for the best who are there. But this is a promise to delegates and their skills. No one knows about it. So what is this saying to the youth of Ghana? And what is it saying this to Ghanaians? In particular, those abroad who wants to go to Ghana, who wants to take a job in Ghana, who wants to bring their skills back home. What is this telling them? Because these people are not part of delegates. So there is nothing there for them. And also, what are the party faithfuls who are committed to the party for over the years? I'm talking about MPP party faithfuls. Now, what does that say to them? We have a number of UK. This program we're doing it from the UK here before we go to our brothers in other parts of the world. And some of them have been in MPP for a long time. And they're all looking to serve, they said to me. They want to go and serve. And now here, the vice president is saying this. So if you are here campaigning and doing things, then where do you go? As a Ghanaian.
Kola, it sends a wrong message about the country, as I said earlier. But unfortunately, this is more of an MPP thing. And this has been part of their culture for a long time. I said earlier, job for the voice, the chronism, the nepotism.
I mentioned investors, and then I mentioned people who have skills who want to go back home.
That is why this country is where it is under Dave's NPP administration, because this is how they operate. They operate with nepotism and chronism. I remember same NPP hammering the NDC and John Dramani Mahama for appointing one person, just one person who related to him into his government. Today, you can look into the NPP and tell us how many family members are in this administration. Even we have some of them who are called, I personally labeled him a minister without portfolio. Who is in there? Who they've been other people have given him the title, the prime minister. Gabi Ochredakon. All these people, or some of these people, allegedly hold British passport. But they are running Ghana today. They are.
Gabi was born here.
Gabi was born in UK?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he was.
But I know he's lived here for a long time.
Yeah.
Because my local barbers, where I go now, is where he used to cut his hair. There's a lot on him. But these are the people who today are in charge. The whole government has turned to friends and family. And Bawumia is saying the same thing. This is a signal to Ghanaians that this NPP government, they are not ready to change. When they come and tell you anything sweet, that sounds so great into your ears, do not buy it. All they need is they want to get up there and carry on with what they are doing. Today, this country, our water bodies are gone. What happened to the report about Galamsey? It comes back to their decks. It's their own people doing it. Who has been called out? We have cyanide and mercury in our waters. Children are being born in Ghana as we speak, according to the professor who did some of the autopsies of expectant women in Ashanti region who died. They were dying, and because of that, they took samples from the children who died in their wombs and took sample from the womb, and they realized the mercury and the cyanide in these bodies of these dead women was unbelievable. Who has even called this out? If it is this country, you will have a press conference. They will call for urgent measures. Nothing of that nature is being happening to Ghana. These administrations do not care about Ghanaians. All they do care is about their pockets and their children.
Thank you. Mr. Kichi Yosin, you heard it. You heard, or I can repeat it for you. Bawumia promised that 10 government positions will be allocated to members of the party coming from each constituency. He stated that appointees will then take care of each member of the delegates in each constituency. What are your understanding of that?
I'm not very sure if their political party allows this type of weird statement. But at the same token, I would rather the president invited him to have a bit of a kind word with him to correct himself, because it's an embarrassment to all Ghanaians, not just for MPP.
Yes.
It's a shame. It's very disgraceful. Very disgraceful. That is not how a good leader will have to not only speak or behave or expect. You are telling us that nepotism is going to be your DNA or tools of the trade. Ghanaians are not interested in that. Serving Ghana is the most important thing. Serving the nation. and not 7 bribing individual persons. What about if all these people are not capable of higher positions? You see, you can promote a man or a woman beyond the level of their capacity or intelligence, and after that, they become useless. That's Peter's principle in management science. Do not promote a man or a woman beyond the level of their competence. They become useless, totally useless. So you shouldn't go there by promising that you give positions to 10 people in 10 constituencies and all that. We don't need that. We need him to say better things than that. Ghana doesn't need that. And that is not even political campaigning. That tells you he's not even a good campaigner. He's not a good, let alone being a good politician. He's not. He is not a good politician. He has not faced any test. He has not faced any test. The fact that he's a vice president makes him almost untouchable.
He said, look at the achievements of MPP since they took over, is what Bawumia is saying.
What have they achieved? They have achieved almost nothing, seriously.
Free education, Bawumia talk about, digitization, and now they call him the vice president who has a vision and foresight for digitization. But last week when I was talking to Honorable Akosi Ponfosu, then I spoke to Sebefia before as well about this thing. They were saying that they have a ministry that deals with that. So then what is his role?
Well, maybe he's directing, but let us correct ourselves. Free education. Mind you, free education.
One district, one factory.
No, I'll come to that. Free education, they did not bring
1 million
it.
each constituency.
No, yes, they did not bring free education. Progressive People's Party brought free education into the system. They brought it because...
So your party...
Yes, my party.
Brought this free
Introduce,
education.
yes, that's
Introduce
right.
it.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
Let me explain.
And the NDC says that they also brought this thing.
Thank you very much. I would say, sir, 1992, the framers of our constitution of 1992, they made it categorically true, straightforward, that any government, any political party that comes into governance after 2 years, that is after 1992, 2 years after 1992, which is from 1994. From 1994 to 10 years hence, i.e. between 1994 and the year 2004, we should try and gradually introduce a policy of free and compulsory basic education. And I repeat that. It said that, and that is in 2012 when my party put it in our manifesto. Nana Akufo-Addo came. At that time he was not a president. He was ordinary, maybe gentleman, in town. He came here to BBC London, had to talk, to say he would introduce free and compulsory basic education. Because Progressive People's Party brought that. And to tell you, 1994 to 2004, nothing happened. According to the Ghana Constitution, NDC or NPP didn't do anything about it. My party was formed in 2012. In 2012, it was in our manifesto. We brought the free education in that. If you like, our manifesto point number 5, it is enshrined in there. So when NPP found out it is a good idea, they said they would do it. Nana Addo said in his campaign to be presidential candidate and all that, he said that. And when he came, he was asked in the BBC, UK, London, that you're going to do the free education. How much is it going to cost? You know what he said? He says, no, I've got to go back to tell the MPP people in Ghana before I come and tell you in BBC how much it was going to cost. When my party had done our research, before we put it in our manifesto, and we knew that the first year of operation would cost not less than 10 billion Ghana cedis, first year of operation. Any project, when you do it, you cost it. We had done it, we've costed it. But there was an NPP presidential candidate there in BBC, so I couldn't get chance in that studio, to to have challenged it, because I knew the figure. I had the figure here, but he didn't have it. He said he was going. That means he didn't plan it.
Figure? You said you knew the figure.
Yes, it had to cost 10 billion Ghana cedis in the first year of operation. That is, if they had implemented it from 1994. This is what.
And who brought these figures? Is it Pakosi?
Yeah, research. Yes, because we've got a research department in the Progressive People's Party.
Okay.
So we did that. We had costed it. That's why we put inside our manifesto. We don't put things in manifesto because we want to please people. This is what we experienced from NPP. When I said nobody has been able to challenge that, because what I say is true. And if you Google BBC How to Talk and look for it there, you will see it. That is 2012, before December 2012.
Thank you.
Do you understand? That's what it did. So that's sort of our party brought it up. But because we're a new party, you know, they brush us aside. That's fine. And even Mr. Mahama at that time didn't consider that was practical at that time. Until when Kufuor and the NPP, they said they would do it and all that. That's how it became a topic for it. But if you have be honest, you will say Progressive People's Party brought it up, because NPP and NDC, they never talk about it at all. Even though Mr. Rollins, NDC guru, he was there. The constitution, they wrote it, Rollins understood it. When after 1992, when he was elected as a president, he didn't implement it until 20. We should have finished. We should have been fully compliant with free and compulsory basic education in the year 2004. Anybody wants to understand English language like I do, will say Ketioson is saying the right thing. It's all English language. We all understand English. It's clearly, it says 2 years hence. That is, they will give you a holiday for 2 years. Any political party that comes into power after 1992 elections, you know, we give you 2 years holiday. What is the 2 years, 92 to 2094? After 10 years, hence, in between 10 years, try and gradually introduce a policy of free and compulsory basic education. That we should have been fully compliant by the year 2004. Now we are in 2023. So you see the significance of my party on this issue. So the free education was not brought by NPP. Otherwise, they could have implemented it before 2005. So they didn't.
In other words, are you trying to say that
yes,
the NPP, Nanado, stole the PPP idea?
I wouldn't say they stole. I would say to be too strong. I would say they copied, because it was good. And the blessed are those who bring good things for other people to copy.
What's the difference?
The difference?
Copying and then the
stealing,
idea.
And stealing.
The idea.
No, you see, the idea is from
stealing the idea and then.
No, I think
the idea.
They stole.
Tell me the difference.
Okay, they stole our gesture. Do you understand? Because the people who wrote the Constitution, they brought it. Nobody else in Ghana brought it. The people who framed the Constitution, they brought the idea of the free and compulsory basic education. You know, so nobody owns it apart from with special respect to ladies and gentlemen who wrote the Constitution.
Thank you.
But we didn't implement it at that time.
Yeah, thank you. Fifi, let's talk about Alan Chematin, then we'll go to other areas as well.
All right, Kola. Thank you. I just want to say something quickly before we go on. In response to the free education that my brother from PPP have just said. Kola, sometimes a lot of people are listening to us, and this is one of the things that NDC communicators, mistakes that we made in the past. That is why we lost election 2016. There were narratives that were said, and we kept quiet, thinking that our good works will speak for us. So we never responded to them. And this time around, we want to change that narrative. If you put a foot wrong, we are going to correct you, and we are going to tell you where you've put a foot wrong. And I'm afraid to say to my brother that the narrative that he's just given is not correct. And why am I saying it's not correct? Ghana has always had free education. We should try and figure out free education from the free SHS. These are two different things, which was introduced by these government, but even that wasn't introduced by them. It was the free SHS was introduced by the NDC, John Dramani Mahama. He started it. The videos are there. I can send some to your production team for them to play for our viewers to see right now. And then John Mama even said to him, they've had the costing. Because when the feasibility study was done, it came with the costing. So he introduced it. But then what we wanted to do is we wanted to do a free SHS with a twist. So he started it hoping that we would do it bit by bit, and then finally enroll the whole system across the nation. The NPP took it up as part of their campaign message, free SHS, free education. They never even says free SHS to start with. They started with free education and then banged it and drummed it into people's head. And a lot of people ran into it and voted on that basis. Forgetting that before you do free education or free SHS, you need the infrastructures as well. You need the dormitories. You need the classrooms, which we were building. The NDC and John Dramani Mahama was building. They were building the E-blocks. They were setting up the foundations right. Why? Because they realized that the system of buildings that we had in our education system were not helping the students at that time. So we wanted something ultra-modern complexes. That is why the E-block started. That is the vision of John Mahama and the NDC. So sometimes you sit back and then you listen to some of the narrative that everybody tried to take credit from things that has happened or things that have been initiated. Sometimes I sit back and I laugh. Haven't we even heard the narrative that Otunfo built KGTR? Haven't you heard it? Yes. But this was done by the John Mahama and the NDC. But people were saying Otunfo went for the loan and built KGTR. We keep changing narratives. But let's get this straight. It was the NDC and John Mahama administration we started the free SHS. That is the senior secondary school, not free education. The two are different. The videos are there. We can play it. And then the costing. And he even gave a timeline that by that timeline, it will be enrolled or introduced nationwide for every Ghanaian to benefit from. So that is what it is. And nobody has started the free SHS idea. It was the NDC who started it. Thank you, Kola. Now let's go on.
Yeah, the debate will go on and on if we go through this. It's like the Doomsaw debate, which is the Ghanaians are finding it difficult, because...
And I'm loving that.
Yes.
Because now they've realized that the Doomsaw debate, the Doomsaw did not start with us. We the NDC and John Mahama inherited the Doomsaw. Because we remember when Kufuor was a president, he packed clergymen on a bus, transported them to Akosombo Dam to go and play for the dam. Have we forgotten this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's talk about Alan Chomatin. He's saying that, he's part of the flag bearer hopeful, and he's saying that if given the chance, he knows he's going to win 2024. He cited the pioneering role he has played under presidential initiatives, one district, one factory, and automotive industry as evidence of the change he could bring in for Ghanaians if given the nod to lead the party. But you were saying something different about the one district, one factory. We don't even hear anyone talking about the 1 million, one each constituency. What are your understanding of this?
Kola, is really unfortunate that when people are looking to be voted for or they're looking for mandates, they come out with all sort of things. We all know as Ghanaians that one district, one factory never happened. To me, is what is called, it sounded great as a slogan in the ears of Ghanaians. I call it gimmick. I personally call it gimmick. And that was what it was. Can we mention any of the factories in any of these districts? Kola, you and I know that this NPP administration, even at a point, took existing factories, existing people setting up their own companies, and they go and put, or they publish it as part of their one district, one factory. And those company owners have, some of them have come out and rejected that, look, this is our business and we don't want you to add it to your tally. That tells you the failure of this NPP administration. There hasn't been any one district, one factory. Lanche Martin was given, I said earlier, Commander Factory, when the NDC was leaving power, when we handed power to them, okay, when the transition team, let me even say in 7th January 2027, when we left the scene, Commander Factory, 2017, because the election was 2016, December. So 2017 January, when we handed power to them, Commander Sugar Factory was fully operational.
In fact, that was started by Kwame Nkrumah. Go to Albert. He created Commander Sugar Factory.
Nkrumah created it.
Yeah, that's
but the whole factory was destroyed. John Mahama, look at the amount of money John Mahama and the NDC spent to revive that factory. And all they had to do is to plant sugarcane and get that factory going so that it will be employment for the locals in that area. Alan Martin couldn't actually look after it. Up to, as we speak, they've been in government over 6 years, nearly 7 years now, right? And Commander Factory still not operational. He's talking about the automotive industry.
Yes.
Look, Kola, you and I know that the world is changing, right? I'm not going to give credit to Alan Martin on automotive industry. People will be thinking,
he said he brought in a lot of changes.
A lot of changes?
Yes, and that has made a difference. And if given the nod, this is the sort of things he will be bringing in for the country.
But Kola, you and I know the world is changing. When we're talking about automobile now, look at it. It's changing from when we used to have the normal combustion engines which will be working and everything is turning into electric. These companies are building bigger firms across this part of the world on electric. We have been told that some of the minerals that is used to actually do the electric battery for the cars comes from Africa. This is where this NPP party lacks vision. They could have rather gone in and negotiate or bid for them to build the battery factories in Ghana. Why? Because we know that these batteries are the future of automobile. We know that. So hence it will be there for a long time for Ghanaians to benefit from in terms of employment. What we are doing now, assembling now, it will come to a point. We might not even have an assembly plant there because of how the whole industry is changing. Look, we have projects like self-finance project like Terminal 3. It took Morocco, I'm going to do a simple comparison here. It took Morocco 3 years to build one of the biggest energy in terms of solar energy, which they call it the new plant in the world, which sends power straight to the Morocco national grid. Not just that, even sells power to Europe. They sell power to Spain, Morocco. Their excess power is sold to Spain. These are the projects Ghanaians are crying for. Because automobile industry will not give us anything. How will we be able to have benefit of automobile industry when we have energy crisis? You tell me, which factory will work efficiently when we have issues of energy? In this doomsday. But if we think ahead and be able to build, come on, we have the whole of the savannah north. We'll be able to build a solar farm like Nu, which was done in 3 years. They've been in power 7 years. Nu was built with $3 billion US dollars. $3 billion US dollars. And these projects are self-financed. Why? Because the energy that will be produced will be paid for by the locals and the companies. With the exception of the Ghana government, who uses energy and doesn't pay. As we speak, they're being changed. And then the excess energy will be sold to our neighbors. These are the kind of changes we're looking for. And then when you are able to get that, you can then say, I've got the basis right. I can build on that basis automobile, aviation, you name it, everything else. And Nkrumah built Akosombo Dam. Dam is a thing of the past. Whether it's hydro or whether it's the other one they call it, is it tide? Yeah. It's a thing of the past. Why are these leaders not thinking this way? There is only one leader who thinks this way, and that is John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. Hence, we need Ghanaians to go Q 2024 and vote this administration out, vote this NPP out, and bring John Mahama for him to come and set this country on the path that Ghanaians are yearning for. Thank you.
Mr. Ketiosin, do you have anything to say about what Honorable Martin was saying? You've given the note, the things he will bring in, like one district, one factory. Then he's talking about the automotive industry. You know, basically cars production.
So automotive industry
yes.
is a thing of the present.
Yes.
You know,
although Kennedy was very critical in his last conversation about that. He is of the view that how many Ghanaians can afford this car production in terms of buying new cars? Look at the people's pay. How many of them will be able to? And this agenda, is it something that to export these cars abroad or for sales, or is it something for Ghanaians? And if it's for something for Ghanaians, then the target is a very difficult one.
No, I don't think it's not going to be a difficult one at all. We started talking about the economy itself. We must grow the economy as a nation of Ghana. We have not even started growing our economy. We have not nowhere near achieving economic growth at all, because we have not grown our economy, because all areas that are supposed to come to produce economic growth are not even there in Ghana. If you go across the Greater Accra, Ashanti region, Iskindi, Takoradi and all that, northern regions, nothing is actually happening. Because the government, it depends upon the government of the day. Governments are not working. For a long time, our Ghana governments are not working because we got the facilities. We were talking of solar panel. Look at how much we got the sun in abundance. You know, we can make use of that and promote, support the technology to introduce these things. We are not doing that. You know, even farmers are not being supported. We need mechanized farming by today. But we are nowhere near there. We have not planned the whole nation correctly, let alone properly. We have not.
Can you repeat that again?
We have not planned our nation correctly.
When you say we, are you talking about Ghanaians? All citizens?
Ghana government.
The
They
government,
are the leaders.
yeah. Okay.
They are the leaders.
No, I wanted you to be clear because
you.
the way you were saying it
Yes.
is like every Ghanaian.
Oh no, I wouldn't even blame every Ghanaian at all. We blame the leadership. Look at what Nkrumah started, the things he started to do. If I wrote an article and I believe you read it.
Yes.
If those who took over Nkrumah had continued, Ghana would have been somewhere along the lines of Malaysia. We are nowhere. We destroyed what Nkrumah put in place. Now, even railway train services itself, it's almost nil in Ghana. Yet when Nkrumah was living...
Do you think that our method of education in terms of our universities are also to blame with it?
No, the universities cannot have a blame. The Ghana government must
the
support...
MPs or Ghana people with executive positions, they are all taking their children out of the country to study abroad, and
of
it's
course,
becoming
yes,
norm.
To have better facilities.
So
let me tell you.
Do you think there should be a policy that says that if you take a position in Ghana, your children go to school in Ghana?
I personally think so, Kola.
I think that will help us because that will help
I
us.
think so,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you. I'm just gonna
you cut
step
me
in
across.
shortly.
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
Go on.
I'll step in shortly, and I'll come out. What my brother here has been saying is the entire Ghana hasn't been planned properly, and he spoke about Nkrumah and how Nkrumah ideas and systems worked effectively because Nkrumah had his priorities right. We have misplaced priorities as we speak, especially with this NPP governments who have misplaced priorities. Instead of building on foundations that have been set, they abandon those foundations and they try to build on something that cannot be achieved. How can we have and I gave an example, a successful automobile without energy? How can we set Ghana economy moving, which the basis of that is our energy, and we have issue with energy? When the energy crisis started, because there was urbanization of energy that went into a lot of villages when Rawlings was in power, because we had to at that time connect a lot more villages for them to have hydroelectric power then, because everything was being centered. He thought about decentralization. When energies goes to all these areas, you could have a welder there who might have his little welding work because there's no electricity in that town or village. He might be able to serve his people. He doesn't have to come all the way to a big city to come and get a welder and then transport everything.
Mr. Kitiosin was talking, so make it short.
Okay,
Course, yeah.
all right. Let me be very, very brief. So, the energy crisis started. Instead of dealing with it, they never dealt with it. They left it for the NDC to come and inherit it. We've got into the same point again. You are trying to bring in things that you think will help economy. Meanwhile, the foundation is the energy. We don't have it. We don't have it. So how can we get that economy rolling? It's impossible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yosin, you can continue.
Any developed society needs movement of goods and services from one place to the other. I touched on railway as an example. Railway lines, the triangle which was left to us by Gurgisberg and later on continued by Nkrumah. That's Kumasi to Accra to Takrady. That triangle should have gone to all over the places in Ghana. Northern Ghana, Volta region, Eastern region, Western, deep Western region to Ivory Coast border. No, we are not. Railway train services. We've killed them. So right now, if you want to travel from Accra to Kumasi, you got to go by plane. If you are a bit loaded. Otherwise, you go on the road, you are not sure that you will run into safety. There are so many accidents happening which we could have avoided. So many thousands of lives have been lost through accidents because everybody is using the same roads and the roads are even damaged. We do not repair them, Mr. Kula. We do not repair roads in Ghana. There's the Ministry for Road is in a name only introduced by NPP. They are not working. From Accra to Takoradi, you will see it. Manholes, we've got not potholes, they've developed into manholes. These are there, we see it. Accidents happen all the time. Accra, Kumasi, Accra, Takoradi, and all that. Why? We can't even cover that. That's why I say Ghana, the place is not working correctly. I'm talking from Kulungugu to Bauku to Kumasi itself to Yendi, Tamale, and all that. So these places are there. Kofojua, all the places. You know, we have to work. Every department has to work. But the government is not it's in charge, but it's not in control. Even roads in Ghana, who is responsible for roads? Which ministry is responsible for roads? Do they report to the president? When they report to the president, what does the president say? We have not. We have no National Omnibus Services Authority. It used to be there when Nkrumah was there. Omnibus Services Authority, buses that run from cities and towns and villages.
You talk about Nkrumah a lot. Yeah. Now, and you are in the Western world, in the UK here. And if you notice, they are not talking about Churchill and all that all the time.
Because they finished the job. They finished the development.
Yes. Okay, so how do we move away from Nkrumah? Do you feel that it's time for us in the 21st century to move away from Nkrumah?
No.
I asked a question.
Yes.
That our difficulties, our challenges that we face, do we as part, the universities comes in as part of our problems, the way our education system is, and the universities, this country, when things come up, they all out. In the COVID, they were all challenging government policy, they were talking about things they were not happy. We don't see that in Ghana.
Yeah,
we don't see that in Ghana. They all mute, quiet.
You see, all because the government does not encourage research and development. They haven't even got the money to go to
have a department
to the universities, to universities to sponsor them for research and development. It doesn't happen.
They have a
That's
department.
why it's there in the name only. The government does not support the educational institutions, the technology, the government is not in their priorities. That's why I was just giving you that example. But if you go to mining areas like Tawa, Nkrumah built, once again, he built...
next week, when you come, don't talk about Nkrumah again. Our viewers want us to move away because the challenges we're facing now, what they are saying is in the 21st century, it's a little bit of a challenge, and I think that we're going back into 1957 all the time. Now we are in 2023.
No, okay, if you
July
want to listen to this,
2023.
Yeah, July was our Republic Day, 1st July. Nobody mentioned it. Look, we built a gold refinery from the Takwa gold mines. At the moment, that refinery is a student hostel. Is it not serious to talk about? We built tire factory and a glass factory in Abosu. Glass factory that could do windscreens and mirrors and tumblers and glasses we can drink from. It's nothing like that. Even matches factory. It's going to go to still in Nkrumah. Matches factory. Ghana, we have no company that produces matches. They've killed it, but they have not replaced it with nothing.
We're going to talk about the COVID. We're going to talk about, I'm not cutting you, sorry, but we're going to talk about the COVID pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war, which is associated to our current economic difficulties or challenges we're facing.
So they say.
So how do we move away from there as well?
We need one.
Because we don't want, Ghanaians are saying they don't want the government to come and stand there and talk about, Ukraine, because of Ukraine. Because of COVID. People are tired of hearing this too. No one want to hear it again.
Would you believe that?
So how do we move on?
The wheat produced from Ukraine, we can do the same thing in Ghana. But we don't do it. That's why I say the Ghana government does not support the universities, agriculture. Go to KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The government doesn't support them. That's wheat and other. How can we live in Accra, in Ghana, and expect Ukraine to produce wheat and other for us? When we can do sensible mechanized farming in Ghana, we have none. We have no mechanized farming. This primitive way of farming is what we do for our cocoa farms and whatnot. We're not getting anywhere. We will never get anywhere until these things are put in place. That's why we had a leader who started to put this in place. They removed him and quashed everything. This is important, very important. They all told those who economic students will tell you. Economic students will tell you. In those days, here, after the Industrial Revolution, meat from Wales. Wales is where we have cows and whatnot in abundance. Those days, meat from Wales to London, half will be rotten by the time it reaches here. So that's why they improved the railway system. In those days, it took a long time to travel from Wales to London. Right now, we've got fast trains and all that. These are the things we have to do. We are not inventing anything in Ghana. These are the things we have to do. But we
Does
fail.
the COVID has anything to do with our economic challenges before we
Not
go
at
to
all. Not at all.
Does
When COVID
Ukraine
came,
war have
Yeah.
anything to do with? Your party is not saying anything about that. We not heard your party talking about the challenges. The government is saying that the COVID and the Ukraine war is part of the challenges that has led us to this.
no, our position is that the Ukraine war must have nothing to do with us. If we really know exactly what
When you
we're
say
doing
with
here.
us, what
Yes,
do you mean?
that's right. It shouldn't have any effect on us because
Ghanaians, or-
yes, on Ghanaians, because when it happened, the Western world pumped a lot of money into Ghana, and the Auditor General at that time, Mr. Domolevo, if I've got his name right, he was an NDP, I wouldn't say NDC guy, but he was the Auditor General at that time. He warned Ghana government, the current government, that the monies we are receiving in the name of COVID, we should render accounts separately because he's going to audit our accounts in that order. That's why they removed the man. They removed Domolevo. They
Now-
forced him to go into retirement.
I want to ask you
Okay.
the last question
Yeah.
before we go to Fifi, then I'll come back to you about this COVID Ukraine. Now, COVID. I did ask Honorable Akosi Opon-Fosu, MPP, former
Yeah.
Minister of State, and also MP, former MP. I did ask him, did we generate as a country any money from COVID?
We already received benefits. We didn't generate any money internally.
What about the airport fees and people cover a lot of things?
No,
that
we
was done?
used that rather to swindle money from the Ghanaians who traveled there. We had nothing to do with it. If you go to Ghana now, today we got tax, COVID tax. What has it got to do with Ghanaians? COVID tax.
But where is the generated funds?
The generated funds is within the government.
Where? Which part?
Government has kept it.
Where? I mean, I've asked
It's
this
government.
several, this is my second or third time of asking.
The money is with the Ghana
We want to
government,
know,
not
where is the money for the COVID funds? Why Ghanaians are not talking about it?
because the president doesn't want to talk about it. Our head of state should be able to tell us, or the auditor general should be able to tell us. Accountant general must be able to tell us. But they are in charge. They were there before the COVID, and they are still there.
Okay.
And therefore, I hope.
We're giving you homework, Mr. Kitiosin. Go and research and come and tell our viewers where the generated funds are on our next program.
Oh, that's a good home assignment.
Thank you. Yeah, Fifi, you heard it.
I've heard your caller. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to touch on COVID.
Yes.
And then the Russia-Ukraine.
Yeah.
But before I speak on that,
Is that what is crippling us as a country?
it's a factor, but it's not the major. It's not the major. I'll touch on the major, but before I speak on that, let me speak as he spoke about the wheat that
Yes.
have to come from Ukraine, what have you, that people are saying that is why bread and whatever is so expensive. Look, now we have somebody like Kennedy Japan who wants to be a president of Ghana. And he sat on TV to say, you are in Accra, you are making money, and you want to go and do farming or be a farmer, you are a fool. I have the clip here. I can ask the producer.
I know
to
it.
put
I
on.
know
You've
it.
seen it.
Yes.
Thank you. So when you have such people who wants to be a president and run a country, it tells you that country is in a lot of trouble. I'll move away from that. Now let's go straight into COVID. You asked about COVID fund. First of all, has COVID contributed to our economic woes? A fraction of it, a tiny fraction. When we hand over, let me give you a little bit of breakdown here. In 2016, 2017 January, when we handed over, inflation was 15.4. Was 15.4. When the NDC, when I say we, the NDC and John Mahama government handed over, inflation then was 15.4. Inflation is now 42.2. In 7 years, inflation is now 42.2, more than 150%. It's madness. And then we blame everything on COVID and Russia-Ukraine war? No. Let me tell you what happened. And before I touch on Russia and Ukraine war, the economy was doing well, 2017. Because of the discipline NDC and John Mahama government went through when they went into IMF, they made sure that they had enough reserves in the banks and they had a very good credit then because they've been very, very disciplined with their administration. So when this NPP government administration took over, they then whirled, or what I would call, they rode on that credit, good credit. And then they went into the bond market, the euro bond, and then begin to issue bonds, Ghanaian bonds in the euro bonds, going for big money. Big money. That was where the warning started. They never thought that things can turn around. So their strategy was, let's keep going into the Eurobond market, let's keep getting money out from the Ghanaian bond. And as they were doing that, and they did that, and they did that, there were warnings from various departments telling them, you are sleepwalking into crisis, be careful, you are sleepwalking into crisis. They ignore all the signs until the crisis hit. Boom! Suddenly, COVID-19. And the reason why COVID-19 hit us so bad is at that point, we have borrowed so much. We have taken so much from the Eurobond market. We had no reserve. And the money that was taken from the Eurobond market, we've wasted a lot of it. We didn't know where these monies were going. There were no proper projects where we could point and say, these monies were going into this project. When you ask them, they said, the free SHS. Yes, the free SHS alone was swallowing a lot of money. That was why they shouldn't have gone full free SHS, but they should have done it the way the NDC wanted to do it. Free SHS with a twist. They should have done it means tested. Kola, you and I live in this country, right? Over here, they have free education. When your children go to school, before they will be given free food, it's mean tested, right?
Yes.
If your parents earn over a certain threshold, those children don't get free meals. They pay for them.
Yes.
Thank you.
I pay for it.
You pay for it. Thank you.
I've never get a free one.
Thank you. Because you are a hard-working parent who work and you earn more than a threshold. And those who have the ability to be able to those who don't have the ability to be able to pay for it, the government then subsidize those children. That is how it's supposed to be. The free SHS should have been means tested. Now, this time around, the government said no. The government went blow on, took over even big schools like Prempeh and all these that we know we have.
Please, Kumasi High School.
Ministers, children, top people.
You mentioned Prempeh. You say Achimota.
Achimota is part of it, and you name it. That their parents can afford to pay for fees. There was no means tested. So if you think you can take all these burden suddenly on your shoulder, and then you come and cry back to Ghanaians and said, we have no money, it means your policy is wrong. It's what I call it, the most arrogant policy that I've never seen a government, not even a UK government, will do such a policy. So these are our problems. That is where it started. So we were then hit hard when COVID-19 came. Having said that, COVID-19 became another sort of blessing to this NPP government more than a curse. Why? Because we had millions of dollars from the World Bank, from the European Union, from other financial institutions in the West poured into Ghana to support us, for us to stand on our feet. Majority of this money disappeared again in the system, which somebody would say evaporated.
Do you think the West? I will let you continue.
Now,
there.
the airport. Let me land
generated
to the airport.
funds. Yes.
The generated funds at the airport were not accounted for. We asked them, the company that you brought from Nigeria to come and man our borders at airport to do this test took money from Ghanaians and people who came into Ghana. Whilst we had a Ghanaian company that could have done this and benefit from, the company suddenly, Ghanaians made noise, the company packed their tools and they went. We asked them, they said, ask the airport authorities. The airport authorities were questioned how much money were made from our airports. They said, with the company, we only charge them a percentage, a rental fee, they said. So they charged them a rental fee of the areas that they occupy, and all the money have just disappeared. Kola, you and I know that is not the truth. And the truth is, they will not use Ghanaian company who you could ask questions and ask them to account for it. Allegedly, the company that came and did this COVID test and mined our airports is a company owned by a friend of the president, Akufo-Addo. So did they just take the money?
Do they have a name?
Allegedly. So did they take the money and then went and share it at back door? This is how bad this NPP.
Do they have a name for the friend? Allegedly. Do you have a name for the friend?
Do I have the name for the friend? I do have a name for the friend.
Yes. Who was it? Whose name is
all of us can Google the company and we will know who owns it.
No, just say it.
No,
our viewers want to know.
That's what I'm saying. Every viewer.
The information is here. Why do we have to go to Google?
Go to your pad. Go to your pad. Okay. Type it. I'm giving it a bit of work for them to research as well, for them to read on.
Just one point of order. It's very interesting what you just said. When you said. I will ask one question.
Yes.
What is the purpose of our parliament in Ghana? That is not a one-party government. At least you got two parties
and the independence and all that.
In parliament.
The independent doesn't count. The independent votes one way. We all know that.
So the point, the question I'm asking is that what happened to the opposition party in parliament? Why? Are they stifled? Are they scared to come out?
Are you talking with regards to when they were putting the company in operation at the airport? Because don't forget,
Yes.
during the COVID, Parliament wasn't in operation as well.
Yes, but it doesn't matter.
After
After
So
COVID,
the president
they went
used
back after
executive
COVID.
powers.
After
No,
COVID.
this good friend of mine, Ukujoto Ablakwa.
Yes.
How many noises has this guy not made about the president flying in jet and taking bath in jet? Of course, yes. I mean, if Parliament is not sitting, it does not mean that parliamentarians should sleep in their bedroom forever and ever. You can shout wherever you are. Of course, we know Parliament is not there. They can even make more noises from outside than inside. So I'm asking.
You and I were here when they wanted to pass e-levy. Kola, we all know this.
Yes.
The opposition did everything to make sure e-levy is not passed, right? They waited for the opposition to go and do their primaries. They then went in. They did not even have quorum. Hence, they were not able to pass that bill. But because they did not have the numbers, they still did it illegally, passed the e-levy. When the opposition took it to court, what the Supreme Court said? Supreme Court then said, yes, they have acted illegally. They did not have quorum, but wisdom have to rule here. When it comes to the NPP, sometimes wisdom rule with the Supreme Court. When it comes to the NDC and Ghanaians, wisdom doesn't rule. They stick to by the law. And then the Supreme Court said, let's wisdom rule. It's been passed already. Hence, it's difficult for us to reverse and call everything out. Having said that, they've acted illegally. That is how this administration has operated. They've bulldozed their way through things when they're not supposed to. Now let me go back to Russia-Ukraine. Did Russia-Ukraine also cost us? We all can tell that COVID shook the foundation of the entire world. But as I said, I explained earlier, it hit Ghana really, really hard because of our own economic indisciplines with regards to this administration. That was why we suffered the fate that we suffered. With Russia and Ukraine, it didn't really.
Yeah, but Baumia said he created a lot of jobs, over 3 million jobs for the youth and young people in Ghana.
Where are the jobs?
They created. This is very interesting.
But we haven't seen them. So maybe the jobs are somewhere. We need to ask, when they say things like that, we need to ask them, where are the jobs?
Some of the achievement that Baumia talk about
are riding on.
That
we are waiting to.
They have created so much job through one district, one factory, planting for food and jobs and others. But we will continue when we come back about flooding and also in terms of the electricity company of Ghana, the difficulty they experienced. There was a blackout on Friday.
That's correct.
Yes, we will talk about that. We're having a short break and we'll be back. Short break, producer. Yes, it's all right. We will have a short break shortly and we'll be back. But we can still talk about COVID while we prepare for the short break. Ghanaians who are watching our program, and also some have texted me directly in the UK here, they have a keen interest to know how much we generated from COVID, and a lot of people are not able to say it. How much as a country?
No,
This country, they generated a lot, through different means. And yes, we're having a break and we'll be back shortly. Thank you, our viewers. We'll be back shortly. Few minutes. Thank you. Edgar TV UK First Report Political Show. We continue with our conversation. Do you have any comment on what we were discussing before we continue on to the ECG argument?
Yes, he asked a very important question about the COVID, the accounting for that, if I got him right.
Yes, accounting
for keeping records of accounts for the COVID we received and the income and expenditure in the name of COVID.
But I understand you are going to do a research and let us know what your research says about the money we generated, how much money came in through the World Bank and other institutions, and then how much money we generated ourselves as a country and where those money are. I think our viewers, this is for the purposes of interest, that our viewers have been asking for this question and we still not getting to the bottom of it. Where is the generated funds?
Mr. Kula, let me say one thing. We've got an accountant general department. They are not idiots. They know what they are doing. We've got auditor general department in Ghana. They would be able to tell us how much actually we got $10 billion and we spent $6 billion. That's what I'm asking. That's the point I'm trying to stress, because I read Ghana accounts for the Republic of Ghana, where the year ended, whatever, in 2010, I remember. When I read that, there were people who were about 115 years old, they were still working. If you go to that,
yes,
they know the auditor's report about people who were over 115 years old, they were working. Well, now we know them to be ghost employees. When after they removed the old man, still they were in charge. They were working. We know they are dead people, but people were taking their wages and all that. So auditor and accountants general report are the two areas that must give us perfect report. But the question is, can we trust anything in Ghana? The answer is that no. The auditor who is doing a good job, they retire him. And the guy who replaced him, look at this man, the Office of Special Prosecutors. They make a big deal out of it after installing this gentleman. And they never even give him a desk or an office to sit in until the guy was frustrated and left. So Ghana is a very mad and bad and sad place. Mad, bad, and sad place.
When you say mad,
bad, and sad.
What do you mean by that?
Wow. It's a mad place. It's a bad place and it's a sad place. You can't gel in that sort of environment.
You mentioned something here, although it was not part of our discussion, but I think it's important that we go there and talk about it. Matiamudu recently stated that his life is in danger. Yeah. He cries after being allegedly attacked by government agents. Former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu has alleged that people in the higher powers in government sanction agents to cause him harm to him at his residence on Monday because of his recent criticism of the government. According to him, he has come under constant attacks by the government since he was removed as the special prosecutor. This is very sad if the story is true. It's allegation.
It's a thing that happens in Ghana. It's a commonplace in Ghana. You see this guy, this journalist who was killed. I've forgotten his name. The journalist who was killed, the one Mr.
Ahmed Swale.
Ahmed Swale. Look at that. Kennedy Japan threatened this guy within 2 weeks. The guy was killed dead. And that's what we see. And even in Ghana itself, I was in Cape Coast that fateful morning when J.B. Dankwa was killed, where MPP's own minister or member of parliament, he was murdered that day, early hours of the morning. Then Japan was there. He's not a policeman. He's not a CID. He was there on the spot. What for? So many people were there. MPP people were there. What for? Trying to erase some traces of whatever records. I don't understand. Ghana, that's why I say it's a mad and bad. And
do you think this should be investigated? If he is saying that
yes,
um, these attacks are going on. He's even crying in his own house, and
course,
fear
yeah.
of armed robbery, fear of other attacks that has gone on.
But the speaker is there. The speaker of the National Assembly is there. He should tackle. There must be parliamentary complaints authority.
Is this a
Commission.
threat to our progress as a country when it comes to investors? Meanwhile, we are trying to get investors here into this country and into Ghana.
Ghana, yeah.
Recently, the vice president came, met a number of investors, and he's encouraging them to invest in our country. And here we have people in our country who are saying that we are not safe.
Of course, yes.
If you were an investor, would you go?
Yeah, we here, okay, we were trained here to, we were trained here about it. They know about us before we know about them. Foreign investors, when they are going to places outside, especially third world countries, to invest there, what what advice would you give to them? Number one, what advice would you give to them?
Normally, they look at the robbery, they look at the statistics
The
with
economic climate
yes,
there, and all
everything,
that,
climate,
facilities,
their children, if they have children, where they
medical
will attend
facilities
school,
and all
and
that.
etc.
You see
All
what I
that,
mean?
yeah.
And I remember that.
Hospital facilities.
I remember my lecturer made a reference to Ghana. It's an Englishman. He made a reference to Ghana that, for instance, he didn't realize I was a Ghanaian. For instance, Ghana is a place you don't have to go. The time that he said it, it's a place that you don't have to go, because in the end, the government will say we are not going to pay. You remember Yentia, when Mr. Champon brought Yentia, but this is reflected here in the British, language. So he said, for instance, a place like Ghana, I wouldn't advise you to go there. Just, you know what I mean? So what are considerations you have to put in place before you decide to go and settle in a developing country and all that as a national, private company?
You want to land.
Do you understand? There are certain things you consider before you go there. And things keep propping up and all that. From what we're talking about?
From what Mr. Kate, your son started the conversation, Matiamidu coming in, he's very, very fearful, scared for his life.
Nobody will come.
And he's kind of crying for help. Now, when you have situation like this, and we're going to try, as a TV station, to have him live, we will make that arrangements to talk to him about this thing that we're talking about, that we in the UK here at Omega TV UK, we want to talk to Martin Amidu about these challenges that he's mentioning, because a lot of Ghanaians have shown an interest in this area. What is he talking about? People want to go back home. People want to bring businesses back home. Is it a place that your life will be at risk? Is there a place that your life will be at risk? Investors also we encouraging, even me, last week I was talking to my colleagues about going to Ghana, investing there, things like that. And if they see things like this, articles, things written about people which is so fearful and scary, would they go there? Fifi?
Kola, thank you for this question. But Amidu's situation, let's be very careful. We shouldn't mess it up with an ordinary person, a Ghanaian who wants to go and invest or do his business or go about his business in Ghana.
Yes.
These are two different things.
But the same treatment,
But
the same police we have there, the same cover.
I know, but these are two different things because of the activities that Matiamidu got himself involved.
Okay.
Matiamidu went into bed with the NPP administration, current administration, took a position that he thought he would be able to work efficiently and be able to bring certain people who are corrupt into account for them to be jailed. When the NPP government and this administration, Nanado and his people realized that Amidu is not a person that you can ask him, drop that file, I want you to deal with that. So he's not a muppet. You will not be able to control him. Then they realized we've got the wrong man. We thought we'd be able to control this man, but we can't. So when Amadou started bringing cases that is to do with his own administration, that was where they started calling him all names. We shouldn't forget that Amadou is even being called that, oh, he's deranged, he's mentally deranged. And then they got him off. The treatment that Amadou is going through is a treatment that this NPP Nanado administration will give to anybody who goes to bed with them and try to come back and reveal what color of pants they have on. They will do the same thing to you. It's the same treatment or similar treatment that is happening to the professor, the current professor who was in charge of Frimpong Manson, Professor Frimpong Manson, is similar. Why? Because Frimpong Manson's report has now been leaked to the public, and Frimpong Manson is giving interview and he's speaking and mentioning people's name, and we got to realize that the galamsey is coming from within their own quarters. We shouldn't forget that when Nanado was sworn in 2017, 2 months later or 2 weeks later, there was an inspector general who was lynched on, beaten, yes, dragged from his track. There was a top official. His name is just slipped my mind. So this administration has proven that anybody that speak against them, if you dare speak against them, if you go, as I said, if you go to bed with them, don't come back and reveal the color of their pants. If you try to tell the public, oh, when I went to bed, they were wearing red panties or black panties or yellow panties, then you're going to get it. And that is the treatment Amadou is having now. Amadou is even a lucky man to be alive. They will make his life miserable. They will make his life miserable.
So what example are we setting? Anyway, Dr. Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. It was not Manson.
Manson, Frimpong Boateng, yes.
Boateng, yes. What will make... We have young people in the West. They have a lot of skills. But they also ask them questions, what protection do they have when they go back home? If they decide to render services to us. And hearing things like this, what do you think about investors as well? People who want to invest?
Overall, it's not good for the country because anything of this nature, as we live in a global village now, the technologies or the power of the technology, things like this is all over the internet. You Google one thing and then you have traces of so many. So these are all over out there. Investors can see, you and I can see. That means anybody can see, anybody can read on. And does it pose a threat for people not to invest? Why not? Of course it does pose a threat for people not to invest, because when people are coming to invest in your country, they look at so many, or they pull a data, and they will consider so many factors that will make your country, whether that country is viable for investment or not.
Because of time, I'll cut you short. We're just going to talk about the flood, then we, to bring our discussion to an flood, properties in several areas destroyed. This, if you look at Ho, Bankoi, they call it, they counting their losses as a community after heavy rain filled shops and home, destroying goods and personal belongings on Saturday. It was very, very heavy one. Very, very heavy way. It began at 3, rain began around 3 p.m. on Saturday and lasted for about 4 hours. But anytime there is a heavy rain, it seems to be a problem. Now, with 2 minutes each for you. Heavy rain problems. We're still not moving forward away from heavy rains. Where do we go from here?
I'm not going to mention a name, but there was a drainage. Our problem is drainage system. The civil engineers in Ghana, we have made them hopeless and useless.
The university made them that way, or who made them that way?
Ghana government, any government.
The government is not teaching at the university.
No. That if government does not support a cause, it won't happen. You understand? So the Ghana government must meet the top echelons of the universities, sit down and talk to them that what can we do? What can we do? I mean, if they cannot.
Are we so too old-fashioned? Because this country, they're coming up with different innovation week in, week out.
Mahama built that what Dubai or whatever in Nkrumah said. Okay, the technicians from Brazil.
That's correct.
Why Brazil? Whereas we got technicians from Ghana. I've got a nephew. He's one of them. Said, "Okay, we can do this," but the government is not going to talk to us because we are Ghanaians. The Ghana government is not going to talk to us to do anything. That is not stupid. Look at the National Cathedral that Mr. Ajay, if I got the name correct. Is he not a Ghanaian? He's a Ghanaian.
He's not building it. He only designed it.
Well, whatever it is, at least.
Is he actually a Ghanaian?
Ajay.
Yeah,
well,
the name
he's a
Ghanaian.
He's a Ghanaian.
But I know he's got a Ghanaian root.
He's a Ghanaian.
Does he hold a Ghanaian passport?
Yes, yeah. He's a Ghanaian and hold a Ghanaian passport. I understand.
See, what I'm saying, the problem is in us. If I say us, we the government of the day. We don't have confidence in our own selves. If we want foreign powers to come in all the time, it's not right. See, this drainage system, you say I shouldn't mention the name. When the poor old man was...
Mention the name. Nobody said to you not to mention. Oh, you mean Nkrumah?
Yeah, you say I should mention. Listen, Nkrumah had the irrigation system. With greater Accra.
I don't know what we can do to bring Nkrumah back for you.
You see, to drain the flood away.
Mr. You want to land quickly, please? Yeah, go on.
The flooding problem is a laughable joke because the thing that we can do, it's not a matter of calling Jesus Christ or God to come to Ghana and do that job. We've got a right man to do, but there's no encouragement, there's no push from the Ghana government, no matter who.
Thank you.
Rollins or whoever, nobody's done it. So it's a problem we can resolve. So
thank you.
We blame ourselves, whether it's MPP, it's ONDC, or Kitioson, or this Kwesindo and all that. So we're going to blame ourselves.
Well,
that
you need next week. We want you to say more about that. Yeah, Fifi. This flood, it's been going on, and some of the youth, this is what they know. Some of the older people, this is what they know. It's becoming rock of ages in our country. Something that there seems to be no cure. Our environment, Department of Environment, struggling. There seems to be no solution. And the people, anytime it rains heavily, all the people here is, we are sorry. They have to go and look for places to stay with their family. Some have children, vulnerable people. Where do we go as a country?
The factors are many. We have a societal problem.
You have 2 minutes, please.
We have a societal problem. Let me touch on it quickly. Societal problem, that is one. Why? Because we have a society that disposes rubbish everywhere. Plastics, you name it. And then when the rain comes, this goes and choke gutters and choke places. Another issue is demarcation. We have demarcation problems where these drains or running water and gutters are supposed to be, or even places of swamp that sometimes you get the running water will go and they go and lodge in these swamps. These are areas that now we are building houses. We've been demarcated for residential accommodation. You go to areas, some of them, they even sandpit the area to the point that it becomes solid ground for people to build houses on. So demarcation is another issue. These are all things that government departments have to look into and then be able to tell people, no, there are certain areas in this part of the world that we live in that no matter what you do, you will not be allowed to build there. You will not be allowed to do anything there because they know that it's supposed to be left as it is. Do we have the same thing in Ghana? No. Do we have the same powers in Ghana to do such? No. So these are some have contributed to some of these. And then the final part is our civil engineers. We need to look at the way we design our gutters. These gutters are very shallow. They're not covered. And then we have a lot of sand that flows above it. Why? Because the areas that are covered, we have them sand choked, and nobody.
You want to land, please?
Yes, nobody goes in with any machinery. Over here in the night, you see the trucks going around soaking. When you see these trucks soaking away, they're soaking the sand and the things that are choking these gutters, even leaves. But in Ghana, nobody does work on these things, and hence every year these rains will come, and rains will come and flood us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Mr. Ketiosin, Chairman of PPP UK, for your contribution, and also Mr. Fifia Santim Pare. So I'd like to thank you for your contribution, part of the NDC chapter communication team in the UK and Ireland. Thank you. Also, I'd like to thank our viewers, and also producer Mr. Jobedu and Sister Dansua for all your support. We'd like to also assure you that next week we're going to talk about these things. And some of the things we want to find out is giving free SHS and free NHIS. Which one will be better for Ghanaians and our future? You get in because the hospital facilities, people are sick and they go to hospital and they are waiting to die. And there is no support anywhere. Sometimes when I think of things like this, it makes me so sad innerly, knowing that you are waiting to die. Your country have set you to say you are waiting to die because there is no anything they can do for you. The free NHIS does not cover all illnesses. So your problem that you are having, your health issues you are having, all they can do is wait for you to die. The doctors will not look after you unless you are able to afford and pay. This makes our doctors who are in those facilities heartless. Very heartless. In the sense that they're just waiting for you. You can imagine you go in and the doctor is saying, I can't look after you. If it's their mother, would they do that? If it's their brother, would they do that? If it's their family member, would they do that? We are, as a country, have become wicked to our own citizens. The sins of our fathers. We have followed that. And is this the cause or a case for us as a country? Why we leaving people to die are the same people who are looking after people, waiting for them to die. The same people we are praying that God will leave us and make us a happy country. I'm not sure why the pastors are not talking about this. The Muslim community, all the other communities, they are not talking about things like this. That this death that is going on could be part of the difficulties and the challenges Ghanaians are facing. It has blinded us all. I don't think prayers, those in authorities, that any prayers will go anywhere if you live with the mentality that you are leaving somebody to die. They are in hospitals now. If you go to Kolebu, they are there. 37 military hospitals, they are there. If you go to Kumasi Komfo-Anokye Hospital, they are there. Sunyain, they are there. Takoradi, they are there. People are there waiting to die. And next week, join us, and we want to discuss this thing. Which one would be better for us as a country? Which will relieve us from our sins to ourselves? That people are waiting to die because they don't have money to pay for hospital fees. They go to hospital, they want them to pay for blood tests, this and that. They don't have money. Some of them, they don't have money. How can somebody earning 500 Ghana a month, 600 Ghana a month afford that money? So next week, we want to talk about that. May God help us all, Ghana. God bless you all. God bless you. May you all pray that these changes will happen, because if not, the sins in our too much for us to carry. This sins is too much. When we know people, we are waiting for them to die. God forgive us. God bless you all.